kind of decision to leave you with these kind of recommendations. And as I said again, thank you, Aaron, for allowing me to fight through a crowd of people to get this project, because I'm very excited about this project. And I look forward to learning everything we can about your neighborhood in a day, and then coming back in a few months with a team of volunteers to help you to serve as a catalyst, for all of you to sustain the growth of the Russell neighborhood in this corridor. How's that? Thank you.
I perhaps ask for questions and answer session. Senator Neal, would you please join us? Darren? Jared? Yes.
How long is the planning period?
How long is the planning period?
Well, 3 days. 3 days. We'll probably come in on a Sunday night. We'll do some more. We'll bring the whole team for We'll come in on a Sunday night. We'll have Monday will be our like this, our stakeholder meetings, research, or site visits. We'll have a community meeting Monday night. Tuesday we'll probably continue the conversation, but we'll start working. We start thinking and drawing and writing, and then by the end of the day, Wednesday, we'll come back to the same audience with a presentation of findings. So it's a pretty intense 3-day. It's incredibly intense. It's a very intense 3-day working period.
What he's trying to say is we don't let them do much of sleeping during that period of time. While we're only here for 3 days, ultimately, it's a very, very quick process. The important thing to keep in mind is that while this is the very first step, the actual SDAT itself is basically the second step, and there's a lot more steps after that. The team is going to be here for 3 days. It's going to be very intense. We're going to leave you with an awful lot of stuff to think about, and we're going to give you some very concrete recommendations. Our goal is to empower you as community members to then take those recommendations and fly with them. That is our goal, because even though we're only here for a few days, y'all live here, it's your community. Our goal is to make sure that you can take those recommendations and do everything that you want to do with them. We're really here to just kind of start you on the process. And then obviously, even though we leave, we don't change our phone numbers. So we're always going to be in contact with you. If things ever come up, we'll certainly be able to kind of weigh in and to help out as the years go on. We stay in touch with a lot of our communities for many, many years to follow.
Yes. Hi, I'm Dr. John Gillen from the University of Louisville. I'm in the planning department, which is ranked number 23 in the nation, number 7 in the South. And one of the things we're coming out with is a new report on West Louisville showing about we talk about environmental justice and social inequities and so on, is the critical area. My article was recently appeared as Plantazine with the most downloaded article about the tragedy of one-way streets and multi-lane one-way streets. We'll be soon releasing a report showing that the amount of injuries on one-way streets in West Louisville is 3 times higher than on the neighborhoods with two-way streets. And along with that, we'll also be showing that the housing value is literally cut in half. And when we talk about accidents, we're talking about injuries that kill people. We have a young African-American man injured and killed on a one-way street. And I'm hoping that, you'll embrace these arguments about what sustainable design is that the new complete streets of bicycle lanes, slowing down the traffic in residential areas and making it a more welcoming place. And I know that across the nation, this is a big movement, and it's a health issue, it's an economic issue, it's an equity issue that people in West Louisville should have the same kind of amenities and quality of life as people in the east parts of Louisville.
Yeah, there's going to be an important theme for us, and mobility and transit is going to be part of that. And we'd be very happy to receive that report and consider and integrate the recommendations that you make. I think that's important for us to know. Yes.
It seems like you're going to develop models for community sustainability. And I was wondering if you're going to talk specifically about what kind of businesses would bring that about.
Yeah, we can't say that. We don't know yet. In fact, one of the topics that we hope we hear from in our day one evening community meeting is exactly that. Sorry? Yeah, what kind of businesses, as people that live and work in Louisville, in Russell, what kind of businesses would you like to see them? We can take recommendations or desires or hopes from the community and test it against economic models and say, we think this will work, we're not sure this will work, but at this point, you know, we have no idea.
Carl, Jefferson County Public Schools. I want to understand the differentiation of responsibilities. It sounds like the grant covers design, but the business case is the key to it. Will Louisville Central continue to lead the direction of the business case for making this a successful, sustainable community?
Yeah, I guess so. It's our intent, Carl, to provide some leadership, as we've done for some years now, that has to do with impacting families who are in poverty. And for us, that has to do with economics, has to do with how much money they earn, having learned how to save and invest, having residents understand that for business to be successful, to create employment, community has to support those businesses. Those kinds of benchmarks that we're going to be leading in. I hope that will resonate with the community that this leadership is important. Obviously, we think it's important. Our investment here says it's important. So that's our intent. We hope the residents will embrace us in that role, but whether they do or not, we're going to continue to challenge the community to improve life's conditions. And for us, is improve children's outcomes so they can be successful. That's what the bottom line mission-driven impact for LCC is, that children deserve much, much more than they currently receive in the Russell neighborhood.
I'd like to emphasize one point too. The Louisville Community Center Corporation just brought us in. They've applied for the grant, and we're in under their auspices. The plan, the recommendations that we deliver, though, belong to the people that live and work. And the question is always on our part at the end is who owns these recommendations? Who do we deliver these to? And it's probably them, but it's also all of you really.
We know that all communities have their unique challenges and unique opportunities, but could the team give us an illustration of what you've done in other communities and what the outcomes have been?
We've done an awful lot of these. This is a 50-year-old program, almost. Our 50th anniversary is coming up next year. And so we do have a pretty long history of this. Some of the more recent projects that I can cite is one project that I was personally involved with was one in Port Angeles, Washington State. It was a community that, in this example at least, is not very similar to yours. It's on the water, it's a gateway to Canada. It had a very tired downtown. It was having a hard time attracting people to stay in Port Angeles. They just kind of came to Port Angeles and then left immediately to go to Canada. They had a beautiful waterfront that they were not using whatsoever. And so they brought us in to kind of figure out how it is that they could capitalize on some of those vast assets that they had. We brought a team to that community, much like what we're going to do for your community. We gave them a list of recommendations, and I think in this case, the really applicable part is that they have probably done the best job of implementation of any community that I've ever worked in. It was fairly remarkable. They'll serve as a great role model for you guys, and we'll certainly tell you more about what they did, but just to kind of summarize it, they took our recommendations. They allowed the community to prioritize those recommendations. We gave them pages upon pages of ideas. They allowed the community to prioritize them. They voted on 10 immediate actions and then set out and actually accomplished those actions within just a few months of that process being over. Those actions then catalyzed some of the longer term things. They took advantage of some of the very short term things to generate excitement, to generate success. Those things kind of started the ball rolling. And now, going to Port Angeles, which has only been 6 years since the initial project, it's a completely different community. It was absolutely remarkable to see. They've got a brand new waterfront park. They managed to get that waterfront park built in the middle of a recession, which I would have never expected. Their downtown's had a complete facelift. They've changed different ordinances to allow people to live downtown, because that was a big problem before. It's just a completely different place. We've had other examples of places that are very, very rural, that have had incredibly high unemployment rates when we first went in. They now have billions of dollars of new investment because they catalyzed the recommendations that we left them with and turned them into steps for positive change. And that is definitely very much our goal for this process. And again, when we leave you, we're not trying to leave you with very pie-in-the-sky, beautiful pictures, although hopefully we will have some very pretty images for you in our report. What we're trying to do is leave you with some very actionable items that you can take and do the day after we leave, and that you can then catalyze those successes into further successes. And we'll give you more examples of what other people have done. We'll give you tips for how you can get that implementation rolling. And we'll be working with you throughout the process to make sure that it actually does go somewhere and doesn't just sit on a shelf.
You guys are against a backdrop of what the neighborhoods used to be. Can you kind of contrast what it is now and through your work what it may be? Can you give us some concrete images of kind of like what you're talking about in Washington? What can this mean for West Louisville?
That's a particularly tricky question because honestly, I had a delayed flight last night and got in around almost 11 o'clock and I have not even seen the community yet. We kind of jumped right into meetings this morning. That being said, we are going to go on a community tour later on this afternoon. So I don't even have, except for what I read in the incredibly well done application, I don't even have a good visual context for this community so far. I can tell you that my training is as a historian, and they've already shown us some very compelling historic photos of what this community used to be. I personally would love to see a vibrant community, much like the pictures that are illustrated behind me are showing. I think the question is exactly what that looks like in the context of today and how we get there. But certainly those images behind me are very much what I think our team is going to use as inspiration, and are very much what we're going to try and aim towards to bring this community back to what it once was and to make it actually better and as vibrant as possible in the future.
Yeah, these images of Chestnut Street, so they developed over time to meet a need, a specific need in Louisville at the time, for the community at the time, in the social context and the architectural context. And we don't know what that context is, but how we'll approach the question is by saying, what does Louisville need now? What does the city need now? And what is it of that need that this neighborhood can provide? Because we want to find the thing that's going to draw people here. And so exactly what that combination of uses will be and exactly what the kind of public spaces or what the amenities will be, we're not sure yet, but we want to be sure. This is why we have to talk to, we have to know what the rest of the city is doing, what the rest of the region is doing, trying to find a way to kind of distinguish and make a draw, make a sense of place happen here. So when we have a sense for what that is, then we will run with it.
Thank you all very much. We're going to ask them to start and come up and close out this press conference, if you will, please. Thank you very much.
Simpson, I'm David Norton. I'm pastor at Joshua Tabernacle Baptist Church located at 426 South 15th Street, right across from Central's High School Stadium. We've been at that location for 100 years, in fact. We're celebrating our centennial this year. And over those course of 100 years, we've seen, and I'm a born native of Louisville, and I live in the West End, and I grew up in that church. And over the course of my 42 years, we have seen many great changes with urban development, urban renewal, with the growth and the decline of the community. And it is exciting to hear what's taking place in Louisville, the attention that Russell is attracting at this time, and the potential that people see and the community sees here at Russell. And I just want to stop and say kudos to Mr. Watkins for his leadership, his vision, and thank you to Michael Davis and Aaron Simmons and Jerry Collin, Kaylin for coming and seeing the value and what's taking place here in Russell. I'm awfully excited because I also sit on the board with LCCC. And what draws me to this organization is its commitment to young people. The measuring rod is how are our children doing? And if the least of these are doing well, then we know the rest of the community is doing well. And so we've seen the decline of a community, And now we're able to look around the corner and see and be excited about and imagine the advancement of a community. I'm so glad to hear about this being a holistic approach that has to do with environment, economics, social justice, because we are complicated people living in a complicated world. And it's not just one thing that makes us go or one thing that holds us back. And I'm excited to see this happening, and I hope that with everything that you hear, with the pamphlet that's in your hand, with the model that's before you, with the vision that you're hearing, that you get excited as well, and that you back and support what's taking place and get involved. And let your voice be known, let your voice be heard, because it really does take a village. And it's not just about Russell, but it's really about the greater city of Louisville. And we thank you for being here, we thank you for your participation, and I pray that you take the message back to all of your constituents and let them know what's taking place on 13th in Walnut, at this old Walnut building, and in the city of Russell, in the community of Russell, and in the city of Louisville.